Three different ways I do this. One is a linear approach, where I draw it in with line, and the other is a color approach, where I spot in the various color patterns. Then the third is the tonal approach, where I do it in a monotone. Canvas is covered with a color, dark, sometimes black. And then I wipe out the lights and put a few darks in, and my pattern comes right out. You do it with one hand, really. Main thing is to get the canvas covered well, and of course the darker the canvas, the stronger the lights will be. Well, I was born in Los Angeles on 43rd Street. Of course, it's much different now, but then it was a very nice place. And that may be a little too dark, so I'm going to lighten it just a little bit. I remember instances down there where the ball game was let out and I was selling papers on 18th and Main Street, Washington and Maine. But of course, Dad moved around quite a bit, and finally we settled down on Benner Street up in Highland Park. But it really got me interested. I was about 8 years old, and they took me to a museum, Southwest Museum in Los Angeles, and I saw a great Flemish painting, and they told me that it was done entirely by palette knife. And I looked at that great painting, and I said to myself, I can do that. And something came alive in me right then, just a kid. Now you notice we just take a rag, and as a young man, of course, I had to have spending money, and I was a little creative, and it was hard for me to just get a job as a permanent thing, but I did work in the grocery store. Make a few lines in order to divide see where we're going. Fruit stand and little things, but I learned how to do posters. Now here comes the lights. And in my early teens, I got on my bicycle and pedaled around the town, and I got enough money making posters for cafes, and I got them all my spending money in the art and the poster, old boards, and show card writing. And at the age of 17, I had a little Model T Ford, and I fixed it up, painted it red. I had ladders, planks, jacks, maybe a little hay on the ground. And I had learned how to do signs, and I learned how to do gold leaf. Behind the barn, giant eucalyptus. And at the age of 17, I had a going sign business. And that really put me on top financially. Along in about 1928, I was living in Solana Beach at that time. And now we'll put some light on the ground here. I met Mrs. Love in Solana Beach, where I lived. And now the mountains out here. She was fresh from Kansas. And then the sky, wipe it out a little bit. I call her she used to preach, and I used to bill her, or try to, the preacher from the plains of Kansas. And she knew all about farming. And then we take a dark brush. And she used to drive a team of 4 big mules, plowing. And we put in the darks. Now it'll come alive when I put these darks in. I guess the Lord just brought us together because I needed someone like that. And I guess she needed someone like myself. So there's the artist and the farmer, but we've got along fairly well. We've raised our family. And now this is just the rough layout. And we were married in 1930, at the beginning of the Depression. The old boards, weathered boards, and underneath there's a little place where the rats can come up there. And I can tell everyone, don't get married at the beginning of a Depression. I'll never do that again. But we made it. We raised 4 children, and they're all doing fine. In order to get a feeling of broadness and spontaneity, I like to use larger brushes. And it gives a feeling of freedom. And sometimes you get lots of accidentals, which I look for, that we didn't mean to make, but it just happened that way. And so we capitalize on these little accidentals. And then too, you get a little tiny brush working on a large area, you can get picky. And that shows that the painting has been overworked and labored. We don't want to get that feeling. A large brush will eliminate all those little things that happen. We just use a larger brush as we can. Of course, there's some times when you need a small brush for little detail. We don't advocate using a great big house brush to do a little blade of grass, really. We like to use common sense. Well, I guess we're ready to go. Let's do the sky and see what happens. Well, they tell me skies are blue, so we'll put a little bit of blue in here, and also in this area it's a little foggy, and we're having diffused light, so the sky can't be too blue, so we'll just make it a kind of a blue-gray. And if I'll make it dark enough, the sky will accent the bottom part of the painting, which is the hay and the barn. So we'll take a shot at this and see what happens. Well, it was in the middle 30s I became seriously interested in the fine arts. I had already been in the commercial part of art, in the posters and signs, so on. But I became seriously interested in about 1935, 36. Then let's put a cloud in there. What would we do without clouds? We'll warm it up a little bit and gray the clouds slightly, because it's a hazy morning and we wouldn't get too strong of contrast in the clouds. So I took some lessons from a very fine artist, Sam Hyde Harris. The light is coming from our right. The sun's pretty high. And after 2 years, he told me to go out and paint. He can't help me anymore. Well, in 1945, I won my first award in Laguna Beach Art Association. Inspiration is the key. Without it, the painter's dead. The old masters used to call it the fire. You have to have the fire of inspiration in order to paint, to catch the feeling of the subject, so that when the painting is finished, the painting itself has a kind of a charisma, an outflowing of emotion from the painting itself, which stirs the viewer. There we are. Now let's put the mountain in. I want to put a little underpainting on this mountain here, so I've dipped into the red. Right on the edge here, we'll soften this edge a little bit. And so that's the beginning part, is getting the fire, the inspiration, that feeling that inside, and you learn to express it. Now we'll get a little bit of blue. Now I'm going to add just a little touch of yellow to that blue, and that'll make diffuse lighting. Now I'm going to put that little mountain in the distance first, and it's way back there. Atmosphere and emotion, I think, are really the reason why we paint. I think art is like music. If it doesn't have emotion, you might as well be still. Now we're coming a little closer. And I used to tell the class so many times, you can copy nature. You can do a legal description of the property, but still it will have no emotion to it. We leave a little bit of the red showing through now and then. Painting must have emotion. Color has emotion. See what I mean by big brushes? You can make active lines. See how quickly you can get over the territory? You can divide your canvas so it almost dances like a ballerina, or you can make it go to sleep like a bum on a railroad track. Now, I don't know what it is way back where I'm painting now, and nobody else does, so why try to paint it? We'll let the imagination take over. Emotion is in line and color and mass and texture. And the artist learns how to use these tools to create this emotion. Now we need to get behind these trees here. When I had my art gallery, of course, I had to have a variety of subject matters. And every year I would go on a vacation, and sometimes I would go up the coast to Fort Bragg. And there we have the tremendous cliffs and the pounding surf and seascapes that are just a little different. Then another place I just love is at the old ghost towns. Any old town that's old or old building, Bodie really had it. And there's the old church there I've painted so many times. Now we'll do these trees. Get a big gob of green here, put a little red in it for the shadows. And I remember going into that old church before it was made apart, and there's quite a feeling, an emotional feeling to an old ghost town like Bodie. We need to put a limb in there. And the limbs are always a little lighter than the dark of the tree. And so I've been quite successful in the painting of the buildings and groups of buildings and rooftops and the old mining stamp mill up there at Bodie. And another place I like very much is the California desert near Palm Springs. Here we go. And then another thing I've had quite a lot of success with, Temecula Valley. Eucalyptus for those big Palomar Mountain in the distance. And it's amazing how a big brush will just paint itself practically. Now the big problem now is to get our barns. Of course, barns are wonderful to paint. They have such great personalities. This barn is probably 50, 75 years old. It's passed through many winters and summers. The wood is, some of it's rotten and some has moss on it, and it gives a various of colors and textures, which is very interesting. And the roof is tin, one of those tin roofs, and it's reflecting the sky, so it would be much lighter. In some places it'll have a little bit of rust in it. So I think we'll put the rust places in first. I really wanted to be in the ministry long before I actually went into the ministry. It's kind of a red-orange paint. But I had raised our little family. They were all little children. 2 and 3 years old was the youngest. Okay. Now we'll put some darks in. And the door was open for me to take a church in Yucaipa. It was a church that was about to close, So I suppose our district superintendent, Ben Hardin, says, well, he can't do it any harm, so he sent us up there. And I was very delighted to go. And I had just built a brand new house in Monterey Park. One side of the barn is, part of it's gone here. A few boards remaining. And so I left the house, I sold, and went out there to Yucaipa with my little family. It was in the beginning of the Depression. And we took that church. And I can say that 5 years we pastored that little church in Yucaipa was the most wonderful, beautiful years of our life. We watched our family grow. We watched people come in, get back to God. And we had quite a ministry there. Many young people have come to me and asked me the same question: what do I do to get started? I want to paint, I love it, I want to get into it. Well, my answer is simply that one way to get to the top and be successful in the art itself, of course, is practice, 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 practice. Study, 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 study. And learn, 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 learn. But there's one other thing I always tell them. We have to bring together the artistic desires and the economic realities. We have to make the economics and the aesthetics work together. We'll add a little bit of sunshine color to it. And I think I'll put a little bit of green in it. It gives a silvery effect. Because if you fail in the economics, you'll probably fail in the art. That's not always so, but it could be. So one must learn how to govern the economics of life as well as following the desires and the motivations to paint. And we leave a little bit of the underpainting here and there. After all, we aren't painting a cupboard door, so we leave little spots. If you can get the two working together and study all you can, prepare yourself mechanically to paint, a little bit of green right in here, and apply yourself, that means success. A little piece of tin got caught on that. That's about all I can say. The rest is, you have to do a lot of other things, but there's too many to name. Now we'll do the shadow of this old barn. And it goes into almost any color you want. Now some of those boards they're different colors. Some of them used to be white, I guess. Okay. Now the next fun part is the hay. And the thing that intrigues me about hay is the light of the sun scintillating on it. And it'll just brighten up the whole painting. If I can make the hay, the whole painting will be okay. So here we go. I'm going to take a little bit of ochre, and I want an underpainting. So we'll just make a little pile of hay here. And there's hay on the earth, all around here. And so now the ground is a kind of a reddish gray, and so I'm going to wash it in a little bit with a kind of a stronger color here. That way we can get multiple colors without working for it too hard. Okay, now let's put some shadow of hay in here. Now we'll make a dark accent in the shadow. Now here comes the sunshine. Dip the brush in pure sunshine. Now there's hay on the ground, so we have to follow through. See the sunshine? Now we'll go into a little different color. A little bit of earth is popping through the hay. See how my underpainting neutralized my red a little bit? Now we need a little bit of an accent of a little green weed, bush, right here. Maybe a little greener. Little grass growing here and there. Now we need a strong shadow. Now we come to the fine. Now watch the sunshine. We're just going to make a stroke or two of sunshine. There we are. This is the barn of Santa Anita back in about 1936.